Hello and welcome to the Third Sector. I'm your host, Tamara Brinkman. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit, and it's that third sector that we're here to talk about today. My guest on today's episode is Joni Reed, Executive Director for Crossroads Christian Recovery Center. I'm very excited to have Joni on the Third Sector. Welcome.
Thanks for having me today.
Well, I'm so happy that you've been able to join us. I'm excited to get to hear from you all about Crossroads. I know that's kind of the shortened name that everybody goes by because It is a long one, and the great work that you do. So we always start by just giving us the history of when Crossroads started or kind of why, and then to where you are today.
Sure. So it was started in 2010 by Karen and Paul Rose. So they founded the Shepherd's Way Christian Ministries, and so they had halfway houses for men at that time, transitional living houses for men.
Okay.
And Karen saw the need to open one for women, but thought that women probably needed a little more time to heal and recover before they actually, went back to work and things like that. And so in the fall of 2010, it was opened, and it's been there ever since.
Okay.
And so I think in 2012, Wendy Cannon and Tom Cannon started directing there, and I actually went through the program under Wendy and Tom as a resident and graduated, and then after a couple of years, I actually came back and started working there myself when Wendy and Tom retired.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's been in the community for quite a bit.
Yes, yeah. Served over 900 women since 2010. So.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of women, and that's wonderful. So you touched on something in the beginning, which was that they had identified that women need a little bit more time.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe specifics around that, or?
Sure. So most women coming out of drug and alcohol addiction are dealing with a lot of trauma. There's a lot of domestic violence and abuse that goes along with that, and just a lot of underlying causes of their addiction that need to be dealt with, that are kind of fueling the reason for their drug use and alcohol use. And so that's really what Crossroad is about. We're not a detox center, and so we kind of are that next step of, once you're physically off of drugs, kind of trying to address those reasons why you were using in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then if you're in an acute situation, like you need to break from alcohol abuse, or you need to break from drug use, you would do that at a different location or within a different type of treatment facility setup.
Depending on the type of drug.
Okay.
So some drugs carry with them a pretty difficult withdrawal period.
Right.
Like alcohol is very dangerous to withdraw from. Opiates can be a very difficult drug to come off by yourself. And so those usually require a detox period at another location. Other drugs that aren't as difficult to withdraw from, we can do at Crossroads.
You can do at Crossroads.
Yeah.
Okay. And that way it makes sense. I think what you're talking about, the ones that are more difficult probably require a little bit more medical supervision around them because of what can happen as they, detox off of those or come off of those drugs. Detox, I suppose, is the right
so
word.
Crossroad is not, it's a non-medical, non-clinical facility.
Okay.
So there's no doctors, nurses that work there. We don't prescribe medication. If they come in on medication, we allow them to have it, as long as it's not a controlled substance. But sometimes during acute alcohol withdrawal, people need medications. They need to, be observed by a nurse. They need to see doctors and that. So, yeah.
Wow. So tell us what the mission of your organization is.
Sure. So our mission statement has always been to present the gospel of Jesus Christ to women that are suffering with drug and alcohol addiction, and then also to provide a structured recovery program that's based on biblical principles and godly values. So we don't require anyone to be a believer to come to Crossroad. They don't have to become a believer while they're there, but we do present the gospel to them while they're there, whether they're there for one day or the entire 4 months or 10 months. They do hear that. And so we like everybody to know that up front, that
Right.
that's what we're about, that's what we're doing, and it's pretty successful.
So do you have a couple of examples of what that would look like within your, how you guys walk through that, those next steps, you know, for somebody versus what it might look like if they were just doing, say, if it's alcohol, AA or NA or something like that?
Right. So we really believe in the power of the gospel and relationship with Jesus Christ as to give us the power over sin and drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It comes from being broken, from being in bondage to those things. And so when you present the gospel to people, it gives them the actual power through Jesus Christ to overcome those things, as opposed to just trying to do it from self-will. And you know, we provide them with recovery tools. That's part of what we teach there. But you have to have the desire to use those recovery tools, and so that's a lot of it, is changing the heart, changing our mind, the way we think, and it's a change of identity, really. Yeah.
So how do people come to you? I mean, I guess how do they find their way to you? I mean, what does that look like?
Lots of different ways.
Okay.
So some women come, they apply from within the jail system, the prison system, and so they come straight from jail or prison a lot of times. Sometimes they come from detox centers.
Okay.
So once they're in detox, they'll call us for that next step, especially if they know that they need more than 28 days. 28 days is not very long to break a habit. And so if someone needs more care than that, they'll reach out to us. A lot of times if people are homeless and suffering with drug and alcohol addiction, we get a lot of homeless people that are, you know, trying to get back on their feet. And so a lot of self-referrals. So a lot of different places, a lot of different situations, yeah.
Is there a cost for what you guys do?
Not at all. So that's one of the major populations that we serve is underinsured or uninsured women. So there's no cost to the women that come. It's completely no charge. And that's helpful because it gives the women, our initial program is 4 months, and so they don't have to worry about paying anything. They don't have to worry about providing for themselves. We provide everything that they need. Even if they come in there with the clothes on their back, they'll be taken care of for the entire time that they're there.
And so if they're in that 4-month program, do they stay and live with you every day, all day? Are they able to come and go, or is it a bit more of a, I don't want to say lockdown, but for lack of a better term, or semi-lockdown kind of situation?
It's a little more structured. So we have actually 2 phases in our program. So we have the 4-month program, which is the Crossroad program. And so during that 4-month program, the doors are not locked. Everybody's there of their own will and their own accord. If someone chooses to leave, we will not stop them. However, if they are in the program, they're not allowed to leave until they've been there for 3 months. Then they get passes with their family. Now, we leave as a group almost every single day and go out into the community. We go to meetings. We go work out at the YMCA. We go to church.
Do you
so
really?
We volunteer at the food bank. So we get out of the house a lot, but no one's allowed to just leave without permission unless they just want to stay gone.
Right. Yeah. So is it better that they do they have jobs typically, or no, because they probably can't? Or
during the first 4 months they don't work. So they really they do work, not a job, but they work on themselves. So they get up at 6:45 in the morning, and then we have classes all throughout the day. We have morning class, then we break for lunch. We have afternoon class, and then we have a break. And then in the evening we either have another group or we leave and go to a recovery meeting somewhere. And then once they complete that 4-month program, they've actually graduated at that point. And if they have a safe home to go back to, a safe living situation, they're completed, they're done, we bless them, and they go on their way. A lot of women don't have that.
Yeah.
A lot of women don't have a safe place to go back to. And so at that point, we offer the Victory program, which is in the same building at the same facility, but it's a different phase of the program. And so at that point, they get a job, they get their cell phone back, they're allowed to come and go, you know, a little bit more.
So really you're helping them matriculate back into society without the pressures that come with immediately, you've got rent, you've got to go work 40 hours because you've got to pay this bill and that bill. And for a period of time, those things are alleviated from their situation so that they can strengthen their own selves and then be in a better position to go outward into that space. If they have children, what happens with that?
So if they have children, they have to find placement for their children while they're in the program.
Okay.
We do allow visitation with the children. We do allow phone calls with the children. The children can come to church with us, meetings with us. We have on-site visits with kids, but we don't actually allow them to bring their kids to the program. We just don't have the space to manage it. So.
Right. Wow. I mean, it's quite a lot to think about. So, do you generally find that you're serving mainly all women from Wayne County, or does your reach and maybe Union County, because it dovetails to Wayne? I mean, but how wide do you see those you serve? You know, the distance that they're coming from?
Very wide.
Really?
Most of the women that we serve are from Fayette, Union, and Wayne County.
Okay.
But we have women from different states. Yeah, we take anybody, so it doesn't matter where you're from. We don't tell anybody no based on where they live.
Right. I guess I'm just more surprised that, you know, from the other states. I mean, obviously Ohio borders, you know, pretty closely with Wayne County, but just that they're finding their way to you from farther distances.
Yeah. We have people there from Iowa, Florida, Michigan.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty far-reaching. Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness. What are your guys' goals for, say, the next 1 to 5 years? I mean, I'll let you pick that range. That's a little bit of a long-range question for folks, but
I know for the next year or so, our plan is to really kind of expand what we're doing there at Crossroad. We would like to add a third phase for the women. And so right now we've got phase 1 and phase 2, the Crossroad program and the Victory program, which is on site at our building, at our property. We would really like to expand that to have a third phase where they are renting from us, from a house, like a transitional living house in Richmond. At that point, we would like to make it available if they have children, for their children to come and live with them. And so they've still got some structure and accountability, but they've got more freedom, and they're kind of entering back into the community with some support around them.
Right. What impact would you say your work has on the community?
I think it has a huge impact. I have watched, since I've been involved, I've watched so many families be restored, daughters restored to their parents who hadn't spoken. I've seen mothers restored to their children that have had broken relationships. And so when the women come there and they get healed and they get better, the impact on their families is incredible. Seeing their children light up, that they have their mother back, that, you know, they've been missing and been worried about, whether it's small children or teenage children. Sometimes it's adult children. Having their mother restored to them is an incredible impact on the community. Not only that, but these women are going out and they're getting involved in their churches. They're getting involved in volunteer work. They're, you know, getting jobs and being productive members of society. So they're not draining the system anymore, but they're actually giving back to the community.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's going to be very prideful for you guys to see that, you know, in real time through walking alongside somebody in that way.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you went through the program.
I did.
and then ended up working there. Would you share a little bit about your journey to the extent you're comfortable?
Absolutely, I'm completely
And we have
comfortable with
time,
it.
I guess, too, because
Yeah.
it could be quite a story.
I'll
I
keep
that.
it short.
No.
So yes, I was an addict. I was one of those mothers who had lost my children through DCS for good reason, and was really alienated from my family. I didn't have anywhere to go. Was really trying to get back on my feet. I didn't have any insurance. I had no resources whatsoever.
Right.
And so when I came to Crossroad, I was very broken. I had absolutely nothing. I had a backpack with a couple of outfits and nothing. And so when I got there, I really found everything that I needed. I found the support that I needed. I found the healing that I needed. And I was really able to establish my relationship with Jesus and start to walk in victory. And I had people that took me to work every day. I had, I was allowed to see my children. And then by the time that I graduated, my children came home to me. So I've had full restoration with my kids. And it's just been incredible. It's been incredible what God has done in my life. And I give Jesus all the glory for it, just following him every day. And then being able to help other women in the same situation that I've been in it's an incredible gift.
Well, congratulations on your personal journey, and then that you're giving it back. That's probably the best gift you could give. I mean, quite frankly, I think that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about how Crossroads is governed or run. Obviously we've got you as the executive director. You are a nonprofit. Sometimes there's boards, who knows? So tell us a little bit about that.
So we do have a board of directors, and they're an amazing board of directors. They are very supportive of me. And my husband is also the director of operations, and so we are on the board. Jay Barden is the president. Michelle Simpson is the vice president, and so we have a great group of people that help to run and govern it.
Okay. And then do you have staff as well, or is it all volunteers, or how does it work?
So my husband and I are the only full-time staff.
Okay.
And then Wendy Cannon, after she retired, she moved away for a few years, and then she's come back, so she works there 2 days a week. And then we have a part-time case manager, Michelle Simpson, actually works there part-time, but that's the only paid staff that we have. All the other staff is volunteers. So all of our classes are taught by volunteers.
Okay.
And so the volunteers are really a huge portion of what we do at Crossroad. We couldn't do what we do there without the people that come in and give of their time and really just help make everything happen every day. Right. Yeah.
So for people who are watching, who maybe want to give back, maybe they've been through they've walked this journey, or they have a family member or a good friend or someone who has in their life. Is it possible to just come to volunteer with you all? I mean, how would that work? Like I'm like, I want to go volunteer at Crossroads. I've watched this segment today. I've learned so much. I'm excited about it. I want to get involved. How can I help?
So volunteers, they just need to call me.
Okay.
We, of course, have a screening process due to the nature of our work.
Sure.
But
Thank you.
Yes. I would just do an interview with them and see what they're comfortable volunteering in. We have lots of different kinds of volunteers. We've been remodeling our building, and so my husband does a lot of that, but he constantly has volunteers coming in to help paint, or if they're skilled, they can help with construction things. On my end, volunteers that come in, whether they like to teach, if they, are counselors or things like that, if they are, interested in giving people rides, that's all needed.
Right. Okay. So how do you all fund your work?
Yeah. Through other people's generosity mainly. So we, the biggest portion of our income is through private donations from individuals and different churches. from around the community support Crossroad, some monthly, some do once a year, a few times a year, but every little thing adds up. And so that's the meat really of where we fund it. But we also get grants from Reed Health. We get grants we got a grant from the United Way. We get grants from the Union County Foundation, the Wayne County Foundation. And so, and then the Whitewater Valley REMC has funded us. So, that's basically the meaning.
Similar to what a lot of nonprofits do, but we like to ask the question because you never know when there's something that's different. I imagine you all do some fundraising too, or tell us about maybe time of year or events, or if people wanted to get involved in sort of that way, what would that look like?
Yeah, so we have 3 big fundraisers that we have each year. So probably one of our most successful fundraisers, and we were not really anticipating this, but we started doing a yard sale about 4 years ago, and didn't really know how it would turn out the first year, but it's been super successful. So it's probably our biggest fundraiser.
Oh, wow.
So it is a huge yard sale.
Do you take donations? Can I bring stuff?
Yes, we do take donations. And so we take donations year round for that, and then we just hold on to them until the sale. The sale actually happens on Memorial Day weekend, and it's usually 4 days that it goes on. And we don't actually price things. We just say make a fair donation, what you think is appropriate. And people's generosity is incredible.
That's wonderful. That's neat. Okay, so we've got the yard sale for success, so something to keep an eye out for coming up Memorial Weekend.
Yes, I hope everybody will come out and load their vehicles up with stuff. We have enough to go around.
Right.
And then we also have a summer golf outing. So Pastor Marty Holman kind of heads that up and organizes that. And it's been great for the last few years we've done that. And then we also have our annual banquet. So we do that usually. We've done it in September the last few years. I think it'll probably end up being in October this year.
Okay.
And it's just we have a nice dinner. People that have been through the program come and share some testimony. We usually have some of our volunteers that speak and other things. But it's a great way if you don't know much about Crossroad or you want to learn more about it. It's a great way to kind of get involved and understand, have a deeper understanding of what's happening there.
How many of the folks that have, and maybe it's not a lot, but that volunteer or maybe teach today or have over time are folks that are similar to your situation that walk through that program, that went through it, and then because of it wanted to give back and now are teaching to those that are, in their current situation?
So I would say a small portion of our volunteers are people in recovery. Most of our volunteers are actually pastors. So pastors from the community that come, and most of our volunteers have been there for an extraordinarily long time. So Charlotte Barden, she's the pastor of College Corner United Methodist Church, and then she actually went to school to educate herself about addiction, and then so she comes in. I think she's been a volunteer for 11 years maybe.
Oh, wow.
And then, the Pastor Chris Monahan from Gateway comes and teaches a class, and Pastor Ben from Calvary Church, they come in. And then we just have some lay people, so people that have been through certain things. We have classes on like healing from sexual abuse, and so someone that's been through that comes in and teaches, and she's been doing that for 10 years probably.
Wow.
So we have ladies that come in and teach sewing, that just want to help and just care and just want to love on people. So it just all kinds of different people from the community.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you have so much going on. It's a lot to keep straight for one, and your husband, but he's over here doing all the operational sort of things.
Yes.
And so that's great that you've got him. Those are hard things to sometimes get people to do.
Yes.
And they can be costly.
Yes,
So
and I'm
that's
not
nice.
good at building things, and he is. So,
Well,
and if something breaks, I can always call him.
what would happen if Crossroads ceased to exist in our community?
Oh, I think there would be a lot of women that would struggle to find the help that they need.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have insurance, or sometimes people have certain types of insurance that don't really cover
Right.
recovery centers. And so I think there would be a huge gap. Which is one of the reasons why we get women from so many different places. It's because there's not a lot of programs that are free. And so there would be a huge gap left for those women who are underserved.
Yeah, I would agree. What brings you the most joy about what you do?
Oh, it's hard to pick one thing. It's incredible to see someone who comes in that is broken and hopeless and has a low self-worth, and to just be able to give them love and to show them love, and to watch the transformation that happens in a woman over the course of 4 months. I have witnessed over and over people's complete identity just to be changed. The lights come on where they felt like, I'm stuck in this situation, I'm never going to get any better. And then to see the way things change for them and to see that light come on and the hope that they have. I love to see when families get restored. I love to see when the children come and get to spend time with their mom and are so impacted by the difference in their mother. I think that hits close to home for me because I watched it happen in my own family. And so when I see it happening for another child, another mother, it's the most incredible joy I could ask for.
Wow. Well, it's amazing work that you do. I just keep going back to the free part. In our world today, or at least in our country, insurance is a huge barrier for so many people for access to health in many, many ways, right? And the fact that you don't have insurance and these centers can often be so costly, I know is a huge barrier for a lot of folks. So thanks for doing the work you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. That'll take us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Third Sector, and a huge thank you to Joni Reed for joining us as well and sharing all about Crossroads Christian Recovery Center. That is a mouthful. You stay well. We'll see you next time.